what is your best advice for new injectors?
To invest in your education.
Perfect.
You need to invest in yourself to advance in this industry. It is costly, but it is worth it.
Costly, but worth it. Go to, all the conferences, the masterminds. Continue to surround yourself with people that have been here, right? We're all on our own journey. Hey, what's up, everybody? Cam Hemphill here, your host for the Medical Millionaire podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. My goal is to give incredible value and insight for practice owners. Every single one of these episodes that we produce, it's to help you take your practice to the next level. We talk about mindset, we talk about finance, we talk about productivity, team structure, ultimately how to build a practice and a business that can achieve sustainability, that can hit your growth markers, that can ultimately build a machine, an asset that you can hand down, you can sell, something tangible that can put you in a position to achieve financial freedom. So guys, I have an incredible guest on, a good friend of mine. We have worked a lot together over the past 6 months. I've gotten to know her personally. I've really gotten to unpack her business. She has a phenomenal brand. She's out of Maple Grove, Minnesota, and she owns a company called Remedy Medical Aesthetics and Wellness. And I'm so impressed by how she operates, who she is as a person, her drive, her resilience, the team she has, the brand she's built, the culture she has. Her numbers are phenomenal, and she truly has something inspirational here. I admire her. I've really, truly gotten to know her, and she's just an incredible person. So I want to welcome Kristina Thissen to the show. Kristina, thank you so much. Long time coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Cam. I am so excited to be here and spend time with you today.
You're amazing, and thank you for taking the time. I know that you're super busy. This is your admin day, so the fact that you're finding time for me throughout how busy you are, I really appreciate it. But so let's unpack a little bit more of you, who you are, your origin story. You know, I know that you're a PA. You're obviously on a practice. You're a Galderma trainer. You're a KOL for Sciton. A lot of accolades, right? But I want to know more about you, your practice, the origin story. Why did you launch Remedy Aesthetics? When was it? What inspired you instead of just staying course of what you were doing?
So my background is plastic surgery. Right out of PA school, I did a small stint in urgent care, and I knew that was not my passion. So I was constantly looking for a plastic surgeon who would hire me. So this was 2013. And at that time, plastic surgeons weren't hiring PAs. You know, PAs were expensive. They typically worked with nurses. So there weren't a lot of surgeons looking for a PA. So I put myself out there as a brand new PA, no experience, and a surgeon took a leap on me. And we worked together for 8 years. And I am super grateful for that experience that really shaped me into, the provider I am today. It gave me just insane experience in the aesthetic industry. But it also gave me a little bit of a drive to potentially do this on my own. So in 2021, I was pregnant with my 4th child. And at that time, I decided it was a great time to become a business owner. So I had a little push from one of my good friends. She actually started Remedy in 2020. She was seeing me in my plastic surgery practice as a patient, and she had asked if I would join her and be a co-owner of Remedy. It took me a while. That's quite a leap. I had a very comfortable 6-figure salary. I went to work. I did my job. So leaving something so comfortable, especially when I was pregnant with my 4th child, it was a big risk. And we were coming off kind of that tail end of COVID, which ended up being a great time for the aesthetics industry. But, it's just an unsettled time. So there was a lot of factors that put into that big leap. But I decided, why not? I come from, a line of business owners and entrepreneurs. My grandfather was an entrepreneur, my dad. So I just have that in me. I actually have a business degree. That is my undergraduate degree. So very unique that I am a physician assistant with a business degree. So I took the leap and we started Remedy. And you know what? It wasn't easy. We saw 0 patients some weeks. I made $0. That's really defeating. And it was in the time that social media was not as much of a thing. So it was hard for people, my patients, to find me. They would call the office and ask where I went. Of course, they wouldn't tell them. So I had to rely on word of mouth. So that takes time. I had patience and it worked out. My business partner ended up leaving and moving to California a bit unexpectedly. So then I became the sole owner of Remedy. So I grew Remedy from 0 patients to over 6,000 in 4 years. So
It's impressive.
It's been an adventure.
Yes, I feel like it's been nonstop since you decided to take the leap. I mean, pregnant with your fourth child, COVID, the world is ending. Let's open up a practice. I mean, we did not know what was going to happen during COVID, and the fact that aesthetics really boomed during that era is kind of interesting. I mean, I guess people were on Zoom, and we needed something to do. It retracted the first couple of months, right? Everything just like stopped, and then aesthetics just took off.
Mhm.
And I feel like we couldn't keep up, and it's interesting to hear that. And now, going from a 6-figure salary, comfortable, went through school, having the fourth, like you probably felt pretty secure, right?
Mhm.
But what was that drive? What was the reason for, hey, I mean, you had a push, business partner, hey, we could do this ourselves. Um, was it the belief within yourself that there was more to offer than receiving a salary and being comfortable? Like it seems like to me, just observing you, um, you like to put yourself in situations where you are uncomfortable. You like to continue to push yourself.
Yep, exactly. I felt stagnant. I wasn't growing. I was learning new things. Of course, we had new techniques, we had new devices. I was in the medical aesthetics clinic, I was in surgery. So it's not that I wasn't learning and growing in my skills, but I just felt this urge and this desire to pursue something more than that. And another big piece of it, I wanted to create a clinic that was unique. I wanted to focus on not only the patient outcome, but also the patient experience. And I really wanted to look at the patient as a whole, from the inside out. Not only do we want to feel good on the outside, but we have to feel good on the inside first. So I really had this drive and passion to create this really unique place for patients to come and feel amazing from the inside out.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously they've really gravitated towards the brand, you, the team, right? In a very short order, you've been able to go from 0 patients to over 6,000, and I mean, that's incredible, right? It takes a tremendous amount of work. I mean, I know that it can be lonely being an owner, being an entrepreneur, carrying all the weight on your shoulders, and just continuing to push yourself and build a very sustainable practice that's really revenue predictable at this point. I think you and I can kind of see that. Obviously, there's always room to improve and room to scale and grow. But you talk also a lot about, blending advanced medical expertise with genuine care and personalized experience, right? And so how do you design a patient journey from consultation to follow-up, right? Increasing patient frequency, giving them the outcome. What's the Remedy way? What's the Kristina way?
I really wanted to create a unique experience for that patient. I didn't want that patient to feel like a number. I wanted them to feel like a friend, like a family member, that I truly, truly care about them. And I think that is, all right, I know that is how I have had the ability for patients to follow me for almost 15 years. We've really made that personal connection. And it all starts, the moment that patient walks in your clinic. So it's very, very important that whomever you have sitting at your front desk is warm, inviting, welcoming. You really need to focus on that patient experience for that patient to want to come back. If you made them feel really good and really special, they want to come back. So that is where it begins, is the moment they walk in the door, the moment they call your clinic. You have to create a unique experience. There are med spas on every single corner now, and you have to have the ability to stand out in that patient experience. When that patient comes in your treatment room, you also have to create a unique experience. You have to show your patient that you are knowledgeable. I've spent many, many years continuing my education, training with the best injectors in the country, leveling up my skills so I can provide an amazing treatment for my patients. And I make that known, whether it's on social media, whether it's in person. I am always talking about how important advanced education is in our industry. You also have to get to know the patient on a personal level. You have to get to know the why that they came in that door. Why did they pick up the phone? Why then? And you really have to take time to dig into that. We can't, be running a practice that's like a factory. You run in that room as a provider, you're out in 5 minutes, they have their Dysport and they're at the door. That's not a patient experience. I sit down with every single patient. I'm next to them. I'm eye level with them, really connecting, talking about their family, their wedding. You have to connect on a personal level, or they will feel no reason to come back to your clinic. So I've really taken the time to coach my team, to improve my skills, to really make that patient experience really unique, and make that patient feel special. And then in that treatment room, after you've made that connection, that patient trusts you, they want to be treated by you, and then you start developing a thorough treatment plan. Gone are the days that we are doing one-off services. You need to sit down with that patient and talk about wellness. Are they checking their hormones? Are they taking care of their gut? Because if that's not in check inside, you won't achieve those results that they're seeking on the outside. So number one, you have to make sure they're in optimal health. If they aren't, how did they get there? Another, component is, of course, the aesthetics piece. What does that treatment plan look like? We have to look at the skin health. We have to look at the overall structure of the face, the anatomy, what has changed. You have to educate your patient on why they're seeing jowls. They just know they don't like them, but you have to tell them why they're experiencing that. So I spend a great deal of time educating my patients on, why they're seeing these changes as they go through that aging process. So really focusing on internal, external, skin health. And then of course you get your treatment plan in place with your injectables. You always make sure you're setting those follow-up visits. You're talking about that next treatment, even if they're there for a quick Botox or Dysport appointment. What are we doing next? What are we focusing on? What's bothering you? That needs to be, always brought up in conversation. Even if you have a 15-minute visit, you have time to talk about that. So I think that's super important to, get that patient loyalty and to get them rebooking those appointments.
I love it. Well said. For the audience, guys, for the listeners, you guys tuning in, what she just described is exactly what the patient wants to go through, right? The minute that they walk in the door, how do they feel? You have to remember they're taking time out of their day, right? And most of the time they have disposable income. So these individuals that are coming in, they're professionals, right? They're stay-at-home moms that, maybe the spouse is working, or they're professionals in their field. And it's important to understand that and to build on what she's saying, right? It puts things in perspective when they show up, they are coming for an experience. They're happy to be, this is like their me time. And, make sure you greet them well. Make sure you have somebody there at the front desk that is hospital, right? Very, very important. Make sure you recognize that they are there. Offer them something, whether drink, whatever you guys, I know that at Remedy, you guys have a nice stand where you have, different types of drinks and beverages, those types of things, and a great, wonderful sitting area, a nice fireplace lounge, great screen. Like it feels very welcoming when you go to your medical aesthetics practice. It feels, I would say, elevated, spa oriented. It feels elite. It feels luxurious. And immediately I feel like I'm in the right spot. You're like, oh, wow, this is great. This is beautiful. This is nice. And then you're greeted by a professional, right? And that experience from when you're greeted, when you're checked in, consent forms, all that stuff, going to the treatment room and sitting down with a professional provider that's going to actually ask you questions. And this is where a lot of providers get hung up, is they feel like the patient is there for one specific treatment, right? One service because they showed up for their Botox or filler, the poke quick, weekend fix, whatever it is. But really, you have to realize that we're aging every day and we are desperate. We're craving information, craving it. Like, especially with like the peptides and the wellness and all this stuff coming out, I truly think the patient is more, we're craving expertise now than we ever have. Um, Botox and fillers was on the map and we all thought it was the best thing since sliced bread, and if you look at the numbers, like fillers have actually gone down and wellness and a lot of this industry expertise is really going up. And so, you have to evolve. And what Kristina and her team are doing are, top notch. And so I would take note of exactly what she's doing, how she's encompassing this, making sure that her patients are educated, make sure the patient knows your entire service menu, right? Because you don't want to, last thing you want to do is go buy the new expensive laser. They come in for toxin filler. You don't even talk about it, right? And so it's this entire experience, this entire treatment plan that's really going to help them anti-age as we continue to age every single day and put on that journey. So I absolutely love what you said. How do you handle the follow-up, right? Because you talked about treatment planning, you talked about multi-service. People aren't just there for a single service, and other practices that are doing that, that's okay. That's all you. Um, Patients are going to migrate to expertise, and we're going to pay for expertise. I'm telling you right now, the people that have been going to practices for years and years, we want to pay for expertise and we want the outcome. So how do you handle that? Like once the patient is leaving, they go to the front desk. How do you make sure that they are on your books, they're rescheduled? Do you have a process for that?
We do. We have developed treatment plan forms. So we will sit down with the patient in the room and we will write their treatment plan out. We have a calendar that we send that patient home with as far as what month should they be returning. What are we doing the rest of the year? I love to take January, February, sit down with my patients and make a treatment plan for the year. So once we have that, I send that home with them in a nice folder. You really want to, give that elevated experience. So you really have to make sure everything they go home with is special and unique to your practice, and that they have a clear plan. I think it's really confusing to a patient if you say you could do a skin pen, you could do a VI peel, you could do a laser. The patient wants clarity. You as the provider have to take control of the situation and develop a very clear and concise treatment plan. Once you have that developed, you go up to the front desk and you have this planned already with your front desk provider or front desk person, how they schedule these appointments. So I will take my patient up to the front desk. I will say, Jess, it's important that we book, Dysport in 3 months. We are going to do filler within the next 2 weeks, and then we will book a laser in 4 months. So Jess knows at the front desk what exactly she's booking. The patient overheard me state what I am recommending for that treatment plan. And then there's no confusion. If you, the provider, let your patient walk up to the front desk by themselves, then there's confusion. Jess doesn't know what I talked about in the treatment room. The patient doesn't remember what I said. So it's really important you as the provider walk that patient up to the front and go over that plan with your front desk coordinator.
Yeah, that's huge. I absolutely agree. I mean, there's a conversation that takes place, during the closed door, and you have to make sure that you walk them up, get them on the plan, get them in a position to come back and increase patient frequency. So the patient comes back and really receives those results that they're looking for. Let's pivot for a second, because I know that you're not just a practice owner, an entrepreneur. You're also a national trainer for Galderma, right? And a key opinion leader for Sciton, of course. So what does it take to become a trainer at that level? I know that you're traveling quite frequently, and I think people come on site as well, since I've gotten to know you. So how do you factor that into your life, your practice? What does that look like?
As a PA, I have a passion for training. And I developed really good relationships with my reps. So that's really what drove that initiative to have me become a Galderma trainer. I started with private trainings in my clinic. Typically, I was using Galderma to support that private training because I did create a really good relationship with Galderma. So when I developed that relationship, the reps were then able to come in and see me, in action, training those providers, and really seeing that I have a passion for education, because not every provider does, and that's okay. But I really have a passion for, education and teaching, and Galderma was able to see that, and they offered me the position of a national trainer almost, I think, 3 years ago now. So it's been a huge passion of mine to take time out of, my clinic, my business ownership, to, go train other injectors in the industry. And I think being very genuine and authentic is super important, because you will gain respect as that injector. And I mean, I'll train people literally 5 blocks from my office. I do not have a problem sharing my knowledge, teaching injectors how I do it, because I'm really looking out for the patients. I want those patients to have an amazing outcome. I want to really elevate the industry, and ensure the individuals handling the Dysport, the filler, are well educated. And, having those good skills also drives safety. Safety is a huge, important piece of the aesthetic industry. There's lack of regulation. There's lack of laws as far as, who should be handling those products. And it's really unfortunate that the products get a bad rep because of the injectors who are handling the products. So I really wanted to help change that for the industry, and really pour myself into the education side of aesthetics.
I mean, giving back to the industry, giving back to the local community, making sure, really ultimately looking out for patient safety outside your practice. That's huge. That's got to be so rewarding. And, I think the whole industry of aesthetics is blessed to have someone like you, right? I think
Thank you.
you could have the complete different approach of, no, I'm not going to train anybody locally. Like, I don't want anybody to know my skill set. But I think if you really, that's more of a micro type of vision, I would say. I think if you look at it from a macro standpoint, this actually opens up more opportunity, with the sense of, hey, I'm going to train anybody that's local, 5 minutes, 10 minutes away. I don't care. I want to make sure that we're delivering, we're delivering integrity within inside of our area of expertise, whether it's Kristina or Sally injector down the road. And, the nice part is Sally is now trained by a professional Kristina, right? Which ultimately that goes down to the patient. And then it comes back up line too, because now Sally is going to rely on you for continuous education, right? So it kind of makes you really a very important person in the world of aesthetics in your local community, which is super important. When you look at constant and consistent education and training, does this help keep you and your team ahead of trends, pulling yourself away from the practice and going outside? What do you see there?
Yes, being a national trainer has allowed me to meet injectors from all over the country, from the East Coast to the West Coast, and gaining that network is huge. Then I'm able to become part of groups. I'm part of a couple different mastermind groups with injectors all over the country. And it's so important to make those relationships with those injectors in different parts of the country, because specifically, out West, they typically see trends before I do in the Midwest. So I'm always making sure that I'm staying ahead of the trends. I'm really educating myself and my team on upcoming procedures, different treatments, We're one of the only practices in Minnesota that offers advanced biologics. So I think it's really important that you're staying ahead of the ever-changing aesthetics industry, and having those relationships across the country makes that a little bit easier. But it's also super valuable to myself and my team as well.
I mean, it has to build confidence. I mean, it builds confidence in yourself, trust in the patients, obviously the team that you bring in. And, it also probably opens up opportunity for other providers that would like to work with you and get to know who you are and how you operate, so you can hand, that expertise to them and level them up.
For sure.
So let's talk about the business side for a sec. Maybe my favorite part of the conversation. But when you're talking about clinical excellence, and how do we turn clinical excellence into a profitable business, right? Like, how do we make sure that our medical practice, our clinic, our goal and objective is to give a patient result with safety and deliver that outcome and have a good team and brand and all that. But at the end of the day, it is a business, right? There's true expenses. Rents can be high, compensation can be high, insurance can be high, inventory is high, utilities. I could go on and on and on, right? Like, there's true liability risk factors of owning a clinic, especially one at the caliber that you have. So there's a business aspect to it, right? So let's talk about that. And some of the questions that I have is, what surprised you most when you stepped into ownership?
I'd say the complexity of the business. There are so many pieces inside of that business that, as a medical provider, even though I have a business degree, that you just don't know. And as that owner, you need to understand your limitations, and when is it time to seek expertise. So this was my year of really feeling, last year, of really feeling like I have taken what I know as a business owner, and that was it. I really needed to take that time to recognize I don't know how to elevate this any further. I've got it to where it is, but what do I do now? At that point, I think I was bringing in 3 million. You kind of get to that tipping point of, okay, I got it this far, now what? So that's when I, got in touch with you, Cam, and really, invested in a professional who has expertise with business development, with business growth. So I think as the business owner, you need to recognize when that's needed. Maybe it's right away when you open your practice, you have zero business knowledge, but you need to take responsibility as the business owner to seek professional help. So I think what surprised me the most was just the complexity of it. There's so many things that I didn't know that, you have unveiled to me. So I'm super grateful for your expertise, and individuals like you out there who are willing to help medical professionals run a business. And I think, in my years of plastic surgery, I saw many plastic surgery practices fail because doctors don't know how to run a business, and, they didn't seek professional help. And those businesses failed and partnerships failed. And I saw that as a PA in plastic surgery, and I knew I wasn't going to let that happen. So that's definitely a key component of, just recognizing when you need that help.
You've done a wonderful job of investing in yourself and continuing to invest in the business. Most, you really have. Most owners are, they're scared, right? They look, there's cash coming in, cash going out every single day. And some owners can get trapped, right? They get in this trap mindset with the sense of, well, I have to hold on and really hoarder all of the cash that's coming in. If you're generating a profit, and here's what I see happen. Cash starts to come in, You start to create a great brand, profitability takes place. And once that happens, excess spending can take place, you know, uh, and really, look, I'm not saying, don't spend and, we all like nice things, right? But I would see in some cases, practice owners want to spend more, on a car or a luxury item, if you will, versus investing back into the business, investing back into expertise, investing back into consulting, into marketing, into technology, into new equipment, into standard operating procedures, into protocols. And look, your business is it's doing very well. It's doing very well. But I continue to see you like there's more to this equation, and I need to use some of the capital that the business is making and deploy it in the correct manner so it can continue to grow, right? Because we've got to know each other long enough. I know that you want to grow. You have, you want to open up more locations. Like, I know you have big aspirations, and this is like your incubation type of environment for Remedy now. Obviously, you have your new location, which is amazing. You've only been there for what, 6 months now?
Yep.
Yeah, 6 months. And so you're not at full capacity yet, right? She went from, how many rooms did you have before? Was it three?
It was 3.5, we'll call it.
Okay, three and a half. You've doubled the space.
We have.
Yeah, double the space. And so she had a capacity problem, right? So now she invested into a new building, a new build out, which was very expensive, and it's a state of the art facility. She has a training, area even inside her actual practice as well in the back. So it's a state of the art place, but she had decided that she needed to go acquire more real estate, right? So what I mean by that is doubling the room count. And when you double the room count, you now have more available hours, right? So when you have more available hours, now you have to figure out, how do I sell those hours, right? I have to go hire more providers? I have to spend more on marketing. Can my systems that I have in place, can that handle the additional real estate, the additional velocity of patient frequency? And do I need more staff? Like, it's a whole thing, and I just have to give you a lot of credit, because most entrepreneurs and practice owners, they get to a specific ceiling and they flatline, and they get comfortable, and instead of continuing to invest back in the business. So you've done a phenomenal job at that. And also you've done a really great job of understanding the business fundamental metrics in terms of how much should a provider be bringing in per hour, right? What is my average cost per ticket? What does it cost to obtain a lead? What is my patient lifetime value? And I would say the journey that we've been on in the past 6 months has really been eye-opening in the sense of, what does this all mean? Because you're still seeing patients every single day, right? And so it's really hard for the audience, guys. It's really hard for the practice owner, like lead provider. In this case, Kristina is one of the lead revenue generators for the practice. Okay, she has other providers that also bring in revenue as well, and some that actually in some months have surpassed her, right? Which is wonderful. You want that.
What we want.
That's what we want. But still, it's, how do you see 20 patients a day, 15 patients a day, whatever the number is, and then have the time to work on the business and understand KPIs? I don't know how it's possible. Unless you're just saying, I'm not a provider anymore. Yeah, there you go. 4 kids.
Yes.
Hey, you had a dog. You got a dog for Christmas too.
Yep. We'll just throw that right in. But it's the commitment to the business. I take sacrifices. I don't sleep a lot. I stay up late. I get up early. I work out every day. It's a grind. It's not easy. I'm the one thinking on the weekend about, the next thing for the practice. Everyone else gets the luxury of coming to work and going home. So that's part of being the business owner is, you sacrifice things. I'll work till midnight, after I put my kids to bed at 9:30. So you have to take those sacrifices, and if you want to grow, you have to be committed. I would love more balance. That's my goal. I'll get there, but it's not always possible. There's not this perfect world of, I'll see patients 3 days a week. I'll never work till midnight. I'll never work on the weekend. as a business owner, you're always working. I'm constantly, if I'm in the car, I'm, and a passenger, I'm working. So it's definitely a huge commitment. And, it's taking time away from other things that you might want to be doing. So it's not for everyone.
Yeah, it's not. It truly isn't. I mean, entrepreneurship, I think, it's a journey. Eventually, you get knocked off the bus. It's just how long can I stay on this train? Because
Right.
it is a lot. I mean, and I have so much respect for practice owners, so much respect for what you do. On top of the clinical background, delivering a patient experience, there's profitability that has to take place. There's the weight on your shoulders of carrying the team, the brand. Oh, what happens if I get a bad review? Right? Oh, there's taxes due, by the way. Uh, there's so much that goes into it. Where some providers, I mean, I think they have it pretty nice. Show up, inject, treat patients, go home, no liability. Maybe some liability, but not nearly as much as a practice owner. But then also, this is a marketing game too, right? Like this is cash pay type of business, and people don't just come in because of insurance, right? You have to have really great marketing. Maybe in the beginning, it's marketing, in your case, word of mouth. Now, social media obviously plays a great role. You have a phenomenal in-house social media person, which is your sister, Kayla. She does a phenomenal job. So it's a marketing game too. It's like, could you imagine not having Kayla,
No.
right? I mean, it was just how could you? When would you have time to create the posts and create all the stuff, and then schedule it? Quite challenging.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you have her, but you didn't have her in the very beginning,
I didn't.
right? You had to then to say, you know what, it's time that I bring someone in. I'm gonna talk to my sister. Maybe she wasn't a social media expert before. She certainly is now. Um, but it's those decisions that you have to make. Is hey, how do I fire myself from specific activities so I can focus on what I like to do best? And you're definitely not afraid to do that, which is really hard for people to do. Eventually, if you just take work every hat, you just it's hard to have a high quality life, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
And patients feel that, if you are, taking ownership over every hat in the business, it's chaotic, and things, go, you miss things, the patient experience falls, south of expectations. So I think that's really important that you as the business owner recognize when it's time to pass off certain areas of expertise of your business, because that will impact that patient experience. And if you're half-assing posts on social media, you have a semi-good presence, you don't have any systems, it's noticed. That's one of the big reasons why we have grown so much is our social media presence. So I think that's hugely important in your practice. How do people, know about you? How do people learn about you is nowadays, via social media. So it's a valuable piece of the business that, I don't think enough business owners invest in. And that's kind of a missed component of growth.
Yeah, they don't invest in it, or they invest in it in the wrong ways, right? They kind of dabble. I'll get to it when I can. I'll post here and there. There's no consistency. There's no framework. There's no schedule. There's no thinking ahead of what type of events we're going to showcase, what specials we're going to run, what events we're going to build on from historical events, who we're going to spotlight our providers. Having your providers participate in social media, extremely important. In fact, I want you to talk about that for a sec, because that's another area that I think most practice owners struggle with, is getting your providers to contribute to the brand.
Yes, as the business owner, you are the face of the brand, and as you bring on more faces to your practice, patients need to trust them. If your goal is to, back out of the practice as a practice owner, your patients need to get to know your providers, really have a way to see their talent. And I have tried to do a really good job of getting my providers on social media, educating patients out there, showcasing their work. That's one way to really gain trust before that patient even comes in. If I'm booking out a month at a time, my patient can't see me, they'll remember they saw Mari or Kelly on social media, and they're comfortable seeing them. So I think it's really an important way, or an important piece of that puzzle, to be able to shift some of your patients to your other providers. And that's an easy way to get people to know them more.
Yeah, unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, we live on these devices, and it's a quick way for us to vet and verify. I can see a personality, I can see expertise, I can see humor, I can see home life, right? Like, this person is also real. Like, they have hobbies, they have a family. Social is social, you know. So I think it's absolutely critical to get the whole team involved and rally around the brand and continue to showcase exactly who they are and what they do, because they're also, they're an arm's length from the actual face of the brand. They're a part of the overall mission. And I think that's important. It's just like a real estate agent. If you're a real estate agent, you work for Coldwell Banker, a big national brand, I guess. I would hope you're on social media. It just, to me, that's an easy way for me to relate it. Because they're individuals with an area of performance within who they are and what they provide, and they also have their own personality, skill set. And so they're a part of that mission. So that brings me to kind of like how you build a high performance team. You have a very loyal team. You have a very, very happy team. Um, every time there's a meeting that takes place, whether it's a huddle, a one-on-one, me coming on site, hanging out with you, people seem happy. You have a great culture. And I don't know if that's you as a leader. Like, I mean, I would say it is, because you're easy to be around. You're easy to be around. You're easy to get the team motivated. They look at you as the leader. They look at you as the North Star. But what does that take? Because it's not easy. Does that just come naturally to you? Like, what qualities do you look for when you're hiring providers, when you're hiring staff?
I think it's a little bit of everything. That culture is so important to me, and that's one of the big reasons why I left plastic surgery. The culture wasn't there. So when I was leaving, I knew I wanted to create a space that was very different than anything I had ever experienced before. Even coming from family practice, urgent care, I wanted to create a different experience for my providers, all of my support team. So it's very important that you lead by example. I show up, I work, all day long. I'm showing them how to interact with patients. So number one, lead by example. They want to learn from someone who is a good leader. And then it's also taking care of your team. I will say that I have poured myself into taking care of my team. And this isn't only monetary. This is, recognizing, maybe they had a big week and you throw them a gift card to their favorite store. Bringing coffees to the team meeting. It's a busy week. You buy lunch. It's small areas of recognizing that they're an important part of your team. And I think that's so important and so easily looked over, because it is an investment. When you are caring for others, making them feel special, making them feel respected, it takes time, it takes money, but that will pay off in the long run, because you will have loyalty. It costs a lot of money to hire a new provider. And if you treat them well and they are loyal to you and your practice and your brand, that will pay off. So that is super important. And that is, one thing which really prompted me to open my own practice, because I knew how I wanted to be treated as a PA. So I really made that a point to be different and really pour into my team and kind of take those extra steps to make them feel really special.
Yeah, they do. You can feel it. They look at you as the leader. They look at you as the guide. They are definitely loyal. They're happy. The practice has a really good provider vibe to it. It's a great culture, and building a solid culture, it's challenging. Building this team framework is very challenging. You've done such a great job of it. I mean, shoot, when I was on site, some of your providers and staff members went to work out right at 6 a.m. with you. So you're working out together, you're having lunch together, you're having dinner together. You do a lot of team events as well to
We do.
really build that team bonding experience. And so you've done a great job of it. And I think providers have options. I would look at it as an area to where they're sought after. Especially one that is a producer, one that has a great skill set. And it's important to take care of your team because they're helping you build. And so, for the listeners out there, guys, the audience, take note of what she just said. Take care of your team. Know who they are individually. Each of them have their personal goals. Each of them have their own, issues that they're going through, whether it's personal, financial, whatever it is, and recognize that. Again, coming back to being a great leader, business owner, it's a lot. So I completely agree. Now, going into the vision for Remedy and the industry, where do you see Remedy Medical Aesthetics in the next couple of years? Let's just call it the next 2 years. Where do you want it to go? What's your vision?
I really want to expand on the wellness piece of our practice. I opened Remedy Medical Aesthetics and Wellness for a reason. And I feel that that is the way the industry is moving now more than ever. Our consumers, our patients are caring about their health. I think 2020 really opened eyes as far as, what are we putting in our body? How should we take care of ourselves? Maybe we should ask questions. Maybe not just follow everybody else. So I think the world is really, for the most part, recognizing that. And they want to take care of themselves in a preventative sort of way. They don't want to just be existing. They want to live. They want to feel good. They want to be energetic. They want to build muscle. They want to have longevity, but also live. So I think if you as a business owner have not brought wellness into your practice, I think it's a great time to think about that because it is really important to patients and also creating a clinic that really takes care of the patient as a whole. I would, jumping back to where Remedy's going in the next 2 years, I want to bring on a provider to offer dermatology services. I really want to be a clinic that patients can come to for a variety of concerns. And, dermatology is hard to get into. A lot of people in the world aren't carrying insurance anymore. So I think that would be a unique thing to bring into a medical aesthetics practice is offering that cash pay dermatology. So I think that's one thing that I'm going to add in addition to growing that wellness side of my practice. We currently offer bioidentical hormone replacement with pelleting. We offer GLP-1s, but I really want to dive into the world of peptides. I think there's so much value in using quality peptides, giving patients the care that they need when they're using peptides. I think peptides came to market and they were thrown out there and, everyone's prescribing them, everyone's getting them. What are you actually putting in your body? And if you can be the place that is providing quality and quality guidance, that will help you stand apart from the rest. So that will also be something that's, a focus in Remedy. And then also, I really want to focus on skin health for patients. We got so caught up in injectables. Injectables are great, but, the skin is the largest organ on the body. Are we taking care of that? So I recently purchased a new Cyton laser. That's a fully ablative laser. I feel like we're going to see more of that, fully ablative laser coming back. Is a bit more of a popular treatment 10, 20 years ago. And I think we're going to see more of that again because patients are seeking dramatic outcomes. And, if we can utilize tools to help them get there where maybe they don't need surgery, I think that is an important piece of the practice as well.
I agree with you in terms of we share the same vision, especially on the wellness side. In fact, I was reading a report recently. QSight put it out there with SkyTel. They release a annual report. They've done it twice, and I just received that report. In fact, I'll send it to you. I think it'd be worth reading. But it kind of breaks down. It goes through the state of the industry, and there was one interesting data point on it was non-surgical medical aesthetics patient spending for 2024. They just released this at the end of 25. So their survey was 24. And I don't think it's much off from 25. It's probably slightly higher. But if you look at neurotoxins to patient spend, total patient spend, 31% of it was neurotoxins, 19% was fillers, 18% was energy-based devices, and one that has actually surged, it's 11% of patient spend, but that's your wellness. That's your GLP-1s, that's your peptides, that's a wellness aspect. But what that was in 2022, was like 1%. Mm-hmm. So that's the category that is surging the highest, and so I would agree with the vision of packing the aesthetics aspect into the wellness, delivering the experience on the outside, the inside, obviously with the new laser as well. So I completely agree. And I think that, what we all went through in 19, 20, we should ask questions. And, we truly want to be like America in general, maybe the whole world, but I feel like we are eager to understand truth and become healthier as a society. Mm-hmm. At least I am. And I can see it through the internet, and I can see it through my peers and colleagues and people that I'm chatting with, and obviously this conversation. So I would agree with that sentiment. The other part that you talked on as well was the peptides. It's almost like they came on the market, everybody rushed to it. There's a ton of information, misinformation, truth, source of truth. I don't, it's hard to understand. It feels like everybody wants to try it.
Yeah.
And I think that there's some safety issues there, and I would agree that the mission should be put the power back in the provider. The provider should be the one delivering these types of pharmaceuticals. So you can't, I feel like it's weird to, I don't know. And look, and I'm guilty of it. It's like just self-inject at home and getting it, peptides. But, it's what's going to happen is we're going to say, okay, I tried it, that worked or didn't work. And you need to have the quality, right? The high quality peptides, the ones that are actually delivering a result, or else people are just going to quit using them, or they're going to have a bad experience, or, some sort of health issue.
For sure. And they won't believe in it, because it didn't work, because they weren't, properly guided. They didn't have the correct experience with it. They didn't use a quality product. So that will, put a bad taste in their mouth. So I think it's really important that we get that back in the hands of the providers, the professionals who know how to diagnose, treat, prescribe, and offer quality results.
Quality results, safety, know the protocol, give us the plan, because it was interesting for me. I have ordered peptides from research labs. I've also received them from practice owners that get them from 503As, 503Bs. I've actually self-educated myself a lot in the past couple of months. You and I were talking about this, and I've taken some peptides. And the research lab that I received them from, like, they have the white paper is great. The third-party approval documents they have are great. And I think that they are actually pretty decent peptides. I don't have a ton to compare them to, but when I ordered them, they showed up in a nice box, so great packaging. I'm like, okay, that's good. But it was all powder, right? It's all powder. And so I'm not a provider, but I had to figure out how to reconstitute this stuff. and I have to figure out vials, mLs. I have to pull up ChatGPT to do the math and figure it all out. And it's like, okay, I think I got it right, and I double checked it. It took me some time, and then I feel like I had it right, and I put it in the fridge. I have it, so I have some in my fridge, and I'm on it. I think I cycle it, but then not only do you have to figure out how to reconstitute it, I had to figure this out myself, and I hope ChatGPT is right. Then I have to figure out exactly how to cycle it.
Right.
Should I take it in the morning? Should I take it in the night? How much should I take? When should I go off of it? So there's a whole protocol, and I guess I'm just willing to self-learn. Hopefully I did great research and received the right information. But I would feel much better if I just came to you.
Yep, just have professional guidance.
Yes. And that's what's going to happen is I already know it because I've seen it historically through aesthetics, where you could go, look, there's people that can dilute their neurotoxins. There's places you can go and get the shit for cheap, right? But you're buying the cheap shit, and that's on you. Or you can actually, go to a professional that has ethics and integrity and get the good stuff that they've done the hard work for you. That's what a provider is for.
Indeed.
Right. And so I think you're going to see that shift, and I love that. And so, hey, I know you're busy. Thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate you jumping on your admin day. I just have a couple other just rapid fires for you, fun, and then I'll let you go. But what is your favorite Galderma product that you work with?
Sculptra.
Yeah,
Sculptra.
I had a lead come in yesterday for that.
We did. Sculptra is a biostimulator. Stimulates the body's natural collagen growth. It gives such a beautiful result. It's natural. So that is one of my favorite graceful aging tools.
What does Sculptra cost?
To me or to the consumer?
to the consumer. Like if I was wanting to come in, I need some Sculptra. I've heard my wife talk about it, right? And I'm not nearly clinically background as you are. I think I have enough ammo to be maybe kind of somewhat deadly, but
I would say the average patient requires, I would say anywhere from $2,800 worth of Sculptra to $3,600. Some of my older patients require more, so they're investing, upwards of $5,000. But this is a product that yields longevity, gives beautiful outcomes, and it's well worth the investment.
If you were to pack that into a treatment plan, if I was to come in, would it go more, depending on, I guess you can see me on camera, would it go facial maybe, or Botox, filler, laser, Sculptra, or how does that journey work in your eyes?
I like to start patients on a neurotoxin. I think that's what I call the gateway drug. Mm-hmm. It yields a fast result. It's impactful. That patient gets that immediate satisfaction, and you have them. So I love to start my treatments with neurotoxin. And then I move into injectable treatments, whether it's replacing volume with filler, whether it's, strengthening the quality of their skin with Sculptra. And that is that point that we add that in. If someone comes to me and the quality of their skin is not where I would like it to be, then we pivot. Then we get a couple of hydrofacials on board. We want to prep the skin so the results of your injectables look better. So if I see that quality of the skin not looking ideal or healthy, then I'm putting that patient that day at my consultation on a few skincare products. That's a really easy at-home treatment to get your skin in good health. Then we move into the hydrofacial, and then maybe we're looking at a laser before we even get to that injectable. Because if you inject a patient with filler or Sculptra and their skin looks like crap, they will not be that happy with their outcome. So you have to take care of their skin first.
Got it. Okay. Love it. Couple more here. One business habit that changed everything for you.
Hiring Cam.
You did. Changed everything for the worse. Just kidding.
No, but like I touched on earlier, if you don't seek professionals, you don't grow your practice in the most healthy way. And, if your goal is growth, which most everybody is seeking that, you have to seek professional help. We are not business professionals. We don't know the ins and outs of the business. I don't understand the tech. We didn't touch on tech. Tech is a huge part of a business operation. So I think, understanding my limitations as a business owner and seeking professional help.
Love that. Love that. Yeah, we didn't talk on tech. I'm not sure how I missed that topic. Goodness sakes, we could go on for a full hour on that. Yeah, I mean that's like it gives me goosebumps, but I'm just a weird nerd like that. But yeah, I mean I'll touch on it for a sec. I think guys, for practice owners, it's important to have processes. It's important to have technology. When a lead hits, have automation. Have a website that works. Have a great EMR that really enhance the patient experience, the staff. Anywhere that you can look to automate something and buy your time back, that's absolutely critical. And 5 years ago, the tech was pretty limited. It's still very fragmented, very, very fragmented, and it's challenging. There's not a one solution for all. And I don't think there's perfect tech out there. I wish there was. Maybe AI can help us with that one day. But if you're not investing in technology, if you don't have a really good system in place, it's going to be really, really hard to scale. Because we only have so much time in the day. We only have so many resources. Head count when it comes to team members, it's expensive. Technology can be annoying and it can be kind of expensive on a monthly basis. But when you compare it to a human being, it's by far, much, much more cost effective. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Sorry. One last one. What is your best advice for new injectors?
To invest in your education.
Perfect.
You need to invest in yourself to advance in this industry. It is costly, but it is worth it.
Costly, but worth it. Go to, all the conferences, the masterminds. Continue to surround yourself with people that have been here, right? We're all on our own journey. And if you are a new practice owner, there's no way you're going to be where Kristina is if you're a new practice owner. Look, even if you've had a practice for 4 years, you're not on the same level, right? People have grown faster than others. They come from different demographics, different areas. They have different services, treatments, techniques, staff members. Collaborate. And I think conferences are a wonderful way to do that. Masterminds as well. Okay, so I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for staying on. I know that was a little bit longer than you wanted to, but I really appreciate your time and, enjoy the rest of your admin day.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Okay, guys, I'll leave it at that. If you found this episode valuable, please share it. Share it with your friends, colleagues. One thing, go follow Kristina. If you don't follow her or Remedy, Kristina, where's the best place for them to follow you?
On Instagram. So remedy.well or remedy.kristina.
Go follow her. She's amazing. They have great content, inspirational posting, amazing facility. Connect with her if you want to have some training done. But I'll leave it at that. Until next time, guys, happy injecting.
Thank you.